Alrighty, welcome to the 158th edition of the MMA Circus here on BloodyElbow.com and live on YouTube. I'm Nick Baldwin. He is Andrew the Clown Kid Lawrence, and as always, we are your hosts for today. Andrew, usually I say it's been a couple of weeks. It's been a week. It's incredible.
Back-to-back weeks for your boy. I am now officially the main host of this show. I've taken over the show.
I applaud you, Andrew Lawrence. You made it.
I'm taking over all the revenue from the show as well.
Well,
this is a hostile takeover.
You're going to be a broke man if you're taking over the revenue of the MMA Circus.
It's all expenses. There is no income.
All expenses.
The show runs on fumes in the hopes and dreams of our dozen-strong listeners.
We say that, but almost jokingly, but that's literally 100% what it is. It's not even 99% accurate. That is 100% accurate.
Yes, we are. There is no way we are being facetious right now. Accuracy level 100. So, do you want to talk about the weather real quick?
Yes.
Right now it's 50 degrees-ish outside, and like things are melted, springy, and it's been raining a bunch of days. It's typical April in New York City.
I'm going
to predict, before you say anything, I'm going to predict that Winnipeg is a frozen death tundra right now.
No, we're actually above zero.
Wow.
Which means
let it be known. April 9th, we are above freezing.
Yes, we're currently sitting at 40 degrees Fahrenheit, but it feels like 32. So the feels like is right at zero. So technically.
But you must be enjoying it. People are out there.
Yeah.
There's that kid who's wearing shorts right now.
Well, that was also in January, so that doesn't mean a whole lot. As far as does it, I mean, it still is chilly, but if it's sunny, and it is sunny today, now we're in the evening, so it's going down, obviously, that's how that works, but it's pretty nice when it's sunny, not gonna lie, but hey.
Is there snow on the ground?
Oh yeah, there's still snow, there's
I'm glad you're happy. Yeah. Spring has arrived. Enjoy the 1 month of it you have.
And then we move right back into winter.
Winter starts
nothing.
July 7th.
Fall, nothing. Well, if that was a real thing, you live somewhere like, Antarctica, I mean, or more than even what you said, weather, it really would be crazy.
Yeah, I didn't hear any of the last part you said.
That's fine. Our connection doesn't seem to be great, but hey, that's what live shows are for, right?
Let's hope it smooths out on our way towards talking about what happened in my neck of the woods last weekend. Yes. UFC 223.
And so I don't know if you saw, but Jed and I did a extra show on Friday night recapping the whole Conor McGregor stuff, the cancellation. So we don't really need to get into that. I mean, we share a lot of the same sentiments, I would think.
No, you two were both moralist cowards. You were ridiculous in your outrage of Conor McGregor's behavior.
I didn't watch the show.
No one did. But I know what you both would say. I just by knowing you two, I know you guys were like, oh, hoity-toity, and being like, I condemn the actions of Conor McGregor wholeheartedly, and the UFC is forced to punish this man.
No, we said that Conor McGregor will be a free man as of tomorrow.
Did you say that it was amazing?
No.
Did you thank him for ensuring MMA journalism exists for?
Well, I mean, I did thank him for basically providing us with our most popular episode of the MMA Circus since like May of 2016 or something like that.
Of course, right? It's instantly more people are interested in MMA as soon as Conor McGregor jumps on the scene. I mean, so if that includes he has to throw a fucking hand truck through a window. Oh, cool. I don't care. And I'm glad he got arrested. I'm glad that the story went crazy. Like, he should have got arrested. He was being a fucking idiot.
At the end of the day, like days like Thursday and Friday are the days that MMA fans secretly kill for.
Of course, it was the best day to be an MMA fan. I was buzzing. I was like physically buzzing. It was great.
I don't think you would know this because I talked to Jed about this. I mentioned it last show, but I actually had the afternoon off on the Thursday, and so I was sitting at home, and it's like, hey, McGregor just got arrested, and yeah, so that was a win.
Yeah, you're covering it from home. The adrenaline rush of covering it. It's great. Yeah, but also the charges he got charged with, like the three misdemeanors, those will be thrown out of court, and he'll plead his felony charge down to a misdemeanor and probably just get guilty on that one count, pay a couple fines. A couple people got to get blessings, and he's on his way out the door. People don't realize with the charges that he just got in New York, none of that's sticking at all. Basically, he's going to hire a New York attorney to negotiate with another New York attorney how much money he'll have to pay the city for doing that. It'll be more interesting. Will be the civil suit because it really looks like Michael Chiesa is lining up his case to get a cut of that money.
His pockets won't be as healthy. I'm not saying they will be unhealthy. He has a lot of money, but Chiesa is going to sue him. I'm sure Ray Borg will.
How much money you think Mike Chiesa can get? What do you want to set the over under for the people on?
I don't know how that all works. I really have no idea.
Well, think the damages. He only got cut, but he did miss out on his opportunity. Exactly. So I think a court could reasonably, bet that he, is owed for all the costs of the camp that he can show and the loss of his show income as well, or and whatever.
I think he could also get his bonus, maybe even throw a performance bonus because Chiesa could argue, hey, I was counting on one of those 50 Gs.
I don't know.
Get it.
Do you think he goes like with mental distress and all those like bullshit things to get a couple extra dollars? I think you have to. I say he gets double the money he would have won in the fight.
Only problem is that Chiesa went out basically and said, I'm fine. The commission just won't clear me. And so I think it would have been smarter and said, hey, I'm like feeling so terrible, all of this.
Or just not made a comment at all. That's the move.
Probably.
Yeah. But, that's what a lawyer would tell you to do. I set the over-under for money Michael Chiesa gets in a settlement to be $250,000.
Really?
$250,000, yeah.
Yeah.
Where would you set it?
I could see that. I would probably go more like 150.
No way. No way.
I don't really know. That
lawyers got to get paid and stuff. So, 250, easy.
Fair enough. Okay, should we talk about UFC 223? You were there in Brooklyn, New York. Your stomping grounds. We had Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Iaquinta, partially for the UFC Lightweight Championship. Conor McGregor's title. Conor McGregor, as of Saturday night, is no longer a UFC champion in both featherweight and lightweight weight classes. It is a miracle. I said right after the Khabib won the fight on Saturday, welcome to the era in which Conor McGregor is, again, no longer UFC champion. That's what I love most about this weekend. Finally, lightweight might return to order, sort of. Not really. We don't know if Tony Ferguson's still the interim champion or not. We don't know what is next. It's either going to be Khabib and Conor or Khabib and Ferguson. We just don't know which, but lightweight, we definitely have some answers. We have a lot more answers than we did last week.
Yeah, I guess. But we have answers by some sort of weird default because the real answers to the questions that we asked didn't happen. We basically just said, okay, because Khabib's the only one who actually did fight, he's the winner, and we're going to consider him the champion. Everyone really just wanted to see Khabib versus, I don't know, it's very artificial giving Khabib Nurmagomedov a championship belt for defeating Iaquinta. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I agree. You
understand that belts mean nothing if you give Khabib Nurmagomedov a championship for beating Iaquinta.
Exactly, because that also means that Jorge Masvidal is the uncrowned lightweight champion.
Yes.
Mitch Clark, retired Canadian Mitch Clark from Saskatchewan. He's the, reigning, defending lightweight champion. So, beating Iaquinta isn't a title-worthy performance, but that's what happens when two guys get hurt on fight week.
No, what happens is a title fight doesn't occur, but titles don't matter. It's just a promotional tool.
Or UFC
my whole point in mentioning it is just to say that like, of course, titles don't matter. When this happens and they give a belt to Khabib after this, then titles mean nothing.
We already had proof titles don't mean anything, but this was just more proof. This is the the proof.
This is I'm making my doctorate. I need like tons and tons of evidence to make it happen. Honestly, the UFC like 223 being there, it was kind of tame. It was like kind of twice in a row that Brooklyn's been burnt with like a lot of decisions. So the crowd that's there, like they get restless and they're like, "What the fuck's happening?" Now there was good fights later and people got into it, definitely. But a lot during the prelims, it was like death in the stands. A lot of Russians showed up early, but they were like clearly just like chilling and getting drunk and not paying attention to what's going on. And then you could tell like local camps who are about it. Thank God it was crazy when OAM, who's like a known grinded out guy, right? I just thought this is gonna be wrestle fuck fest, right? Then without a question. When he fucking knees Evan Dunham, everyone was just like, "Thank God!" It was like the one moment that like jacked everyone up in the audience. I thought people checked out for Karolina Kowalkiewicz against Felice Herring. Like a lot of people didn't care.
I like that fight,
and I thought it was a good fight too. But the crowd wasn't into it at all.
Of course, casual fans.
Casual fans were. Yeah, the thing is, like the Brooklyn crowd that shows up is actually a real casual crowd. Like it's like a lot of like pretty good businessmen and like guys who casually follow the sport or casually follow mixed martial arts at all. They're just like, oh yeah, you get tickets to the big fights when they're in town. Yeah, we just get them. A lot of people clearly there on like a company dollar or something. So yeah, when things like this were happening, they were like in the beer line, just like gone. So a lot of energy was sucked out of this, but people were jacked up for maybe the co-main and the main event.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I thought the actual card played out pretty well.
For the pieces that played, they were entertaining fights.
For the fights that actually happened,
I would give it in that way like a B. But like considering how much of a letdown all of it was, like
it still had to be underwhelming because we were supposed to get Khabib Tony, then Khabib Max, and we were also supposed to see Chiesa Pettis, Borg Reno, which was a really fun fight at flyweight. Iaquinta Felder would have been my choice for fight of the night had everything gone out as planned.
With the performance that Iaquinta put on, you could see that he would have been really live in that fight, and it would have been very interesting. Like despite the long layoff, and I kind of ignored the 10 seconds it took him to knock out Diego Sanchez.
True. And even still, that was already a year.
Jesus Christ.
In the past. But yeah, I think what we saw was good. Looking back, we did actually get a few decisions or quite a number of them, but I thought a lot of them were pretty fun. Kowalkiewicz Herrig, as we said already, was fun. The first two fights weren't great. Evan Smith versus Rawlings was okay. Groupmacher putting a beat down on Lozon, that was just really depressing. But hey, I mean, I guess now let's sort of get into the top fights. We might as well start from the very top and talk about the main event. Of course, as we mentioned, Khabib Nurmagomedov became the lightweight champion with a dominant, unanimous decision win over late replacement. 24 hours notice, raging Ally Iaquinta steps up from the opener on the pay-per-view. He was, of course, supposed to take on Felder, and he put up a fight, but there was no moment in the fight that Iaquinta had Khabib in trouble. Khabib looked good despite the commentary from Joe Rogan, which seemed a lot of people were complaining about it. I don't think it was his best night. I don't think the whole commentary booth had their greatest night, and I think that's understandable. Give them sort of a pass. This was a crazy week. I mean, if you're following John Anik on Twitter, he kept sort of giving updates. Now we're changing the scripts for this card, and hey, Holloway's out, and now we have to do it again. And so I don't totally I'm willing to give them a pass as far as the commentary goes. Rogan really criticized Khabib, and I guess you weren't listening, of course. You were there. But,
yeah, when people mentioned it afterwards, I was like, I might have to go back and check it out, but I haven't. So
yeah.
Honestly, I don't know. People get critical when like Joe gets critical, but like what he does is he just like picks a narrative in the fight, like a way you could look at it, and tells it through that perspective. And he's there to try to make it entertaining when it's not entertaining sometimes. So, I think you get trapped in that commentary headspace. So like lighten the fuck up.
I
Joe
do
Rogan's
think
a good commentator, man.
Rogan legitimately thought Khabib should have looked better than he did. I don't know exactly what he was expecting. I mean, I guess some people really do think Khabib is invincible, and no, I mean, we knew his holes going in. We knew that this guy isn't the best stand-up fighter. His striking is good, but by no means is it, say, better than Connor's striking or even Tony's or a lot of fighters. I mean, he's a ground fighter. He takes you down and mauls you on the ground, and that's okay. It won him the belt. It won him, 10 or 11 fights in the UFC. You don't have to be the most well-rounded and do well. We've seen that, although well-rounded will help. But Khabib is such an animal on the ground. That hasn't mattered, but
no, I think what Khabib does really well is he has complementary striking stances and defense and style to the fact that he's a wrestling monster.
You know what?
He wrestles so fucking good that he just has like a little tricky style to his stand-up, and that works for him because the threat of the takedowns there always as well.
You know what I love from Khabib? When he does that little flurry and he's striking, it's just like that. It's so bad, but he gets inside and he gets you down. It's like he's like getting in your face, almost trying to distract you with his horrible striking, and then you're flat on your back.
Well, I think that those shots might not be as graceful or as strategic and maybe easy to dodge, but they're also being thrown with a lot of power, so you kind of have to respect them. And it makes someone have to react in a certain way that he knows he can capitalize.
Yeah, I mean, right? I think the purpose of that particular flurry, which we see from Khabib quite often, is to distract his opponent because.
Well, it's either they because then you're forcing an opponent to like step in, and if you take a step forward, then he's gonna hit that leg.
I guess not distract, but throw off because they're kind of wild. Yeah. I thought Khabib looked good. I didn't have any issues with Khabib's performance. If anything, I enjoyed it more than Khabib sitting on top of Iaquinta for 5 rounds because we saw more of Khabib's game. I think his striking looked better than it ever has in this fight. I know that's against Iaquinta, but hey, Iaquinta, he has very sharp boxing.
Oh, he's very fast boxing too.
Surprises in this entire fight was that Iaquinta didn't do better on the feet. I expected when this was standing up, Iaquinta would probably have the advantage, sitting back, low stance, and then just pop the jab and sort of not eat Khabib alive on the feet, but I thought he would somewhat be able to outpoint him, but it was completely the other way around. I know most of Khabib's striking in this fight was his jab, but hey, it worked. It bloodied Iaquinta up, and Iaquinta had a very tough time getting close enough to Khabib, and Khabib obviously always very good at close.
Right from the beginning, you're ignoring the fact that first he started with a healthy dose of getting taken down and beaten the fuck up.
Of course.
So after 2 rounds of getting beaten the fuck up, and then you're like, all right, now box me. I'm the dude who's been on top of you, pounding your face in. Do you think you're going to be like at your bet? No, so he was slower, and his hands weren't as fast because he was tired because it's exhausting to get beat the fuck up, So I think, if they'd both been candy fresh, that you probably would have seen a lot more success of Al and being a lot less susceptible to the jab. Because here's what's happening too. Al has to press forward at that point, right? 2 rounds down. Plus this guy's a wrestler, so he's got to be like dominant in the face, staying in front of him, always walking in front of him. When you're in front of a person, you're very susceptible to their jab. And Al kind of had the technique of being like, I'll take a bunch of shots to get inside. But Al just didn't throw enough shots in combination maybe to land. But I don't know. Khabib ultimately, too, was being very defensively sound and avoiding any kind of big power shots.
Which is also something people have criticized him of. His striking defense has never been amazing. His head movement isn't great. He's gotten hit before. One fight I look back to is the Michael Johnson one from late 2016.
Yeah, he gets clipped like once or twice in that fight. Like, you can't be like, you have bad striking defense, you got clipped twice.
No, but I mean, for a fighter as good as Khabib, I think that's one thing that has stood out. I mean, I think that's one of his bigger flaws.
Do you think in any point of the fight did Al land something that you were like, oh shit, Khabib?
No,
I didn't
not at all
either. When I was there watching it, I was like, yo, he's
commentary once in a while. I mean, they would sort of, Iaquinta lands, fairly big shot, but no.
I'm not saying he didn't have momentum moves where he was like pressing forward. He had some success, but it wasn't like, okay, now the tide's turned, because it started with such a hellacious beating for the first 2 rounds.
Iaquinta's momentum moves were mostly surrounded around the fact that Khabib was standing with him for the latter part of the fight.
Yeah, it was all in that, what, the third and the fourth?
Basically.
And then, yeah.
I'm curious why. So, what is your? This is mostly speculation, but why was the latter rounds on the feet? Khabib seems to be such a great wrestler, and I truly believe that he could,
I genuinely think that
at any time. Was it the sweat? Was it slippery? Did Khabib want to prove a point? What do you think?
Prove a point. He said after the fight that it was him proving a point to that, or just wanting to feel what it's like to go 5 full rounds. He also said that he thought Iaquinta was really tough and that it was probably going to take him a lot of energy to finish him. So if he did try to finish him, he wanted to do it later on in the rounds in case he didn't gas himself out, right? So I believe him at that. I think that he, after 2 rounds of beating Iaquinta up, he was like, damn, this guy's not going to go away. I don't want to exhaust myself and gas out in round 4 and get finished. So he decided, I'm going to work on my stand-up. I'm going to beat him up there. Prove a point.
So do you think taking Al down and doing what he's best at would have taken more energy than what Khabib did in those later rounds?
Well, I think it's different energy sets when you're, wrestling and holding and grappling someone down, as opposed to when you're being explosive and on your feet and, walking around, you're using your legs, your upright torso. It's a different muscle set. So, yeah, it would be much more exhausting to wrestle straight for 5 rounds rather than to mix it up like Khabib did.
I think ultimately, I agree with with most of what you said, and I don't see too many people saying this. I think most people think Iaquinta's takedown defense was better than we thought, or that, as the commentators were mentioned, it started getting slippery in the later rounds because of the sweat and all that. I think Khabib just said, hey, Iaquinta is a great... one fight I keep going back to is the Michael Johnson fight. We saw Khabib standing there for the first, 2 or 3 minutes, and not saying that's not something Khabib usually does, but to me, if I go back and watch that Johnson fight, it really looked like Khabib wanted to, prove a point on the feet and say, hey, I can stand with some of the best strikers at lightweight. I am a good striker. I am getting better. And ultimately, once he got hit once or twice, he's like, all right, let's go back to what I'm good at. But I think Khabib realized that Iaquinta was a lesser opponent than most of his recent opponents and realized that he would be a good fighter to prove this point against, to prove the point that he's wanted to prove for quite a while. And show off his striking, not even proving a point, but just show off his striking and sort of say, hey, my striking is better than you guys all thought. And so I think he realized that this was a good opportunity to do that short notice replacement. Although he definitely did take a risk by doing so. Again, speculation, if he did decide to keep it standing in the later rounds, that's a risk because Iaquinta is a good striker. He does have knockout power. It would have been a lot safer for Khabib just to continue taking him down. But hey, if he felt he would have gotten tired doing so, or if he just wanted to keep standing just because he's a crazy guy.
Khabib said he was watching the Ali documentaries.
I saw that.
I believe that. Yeah, I think Rumble in the Jungle, because he was talking about Ali Boumbaye.
Yeah, he's going to come out next fight and just be a boxer or something. He's going to look great on the feet.
He walks out with like a traditional boxing robe with like a dope hood. Why don't fighters do that, man?
He needs to hook up with Kevin Casey if he's going to do that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Get Kevin Casey in the crew. Yeah, what's Kevin Casey doing? He's fighting in Bellator and shit.
And for anybody that doesn't know, Kevin Casey is the son-in-law of Muhammad Ali, something like that.
Got it. He's also the king.
Yes,
he's on top.
King Kevin Casey, the one and only.
Here it is. You want to talk about Rose, JJ?
Event. Yes. Rose Namajunas defeats Joanna Jędrzejczyk by unanimous decision to retain the strawweight championship in her first successful title defense. First, before anything, how did you score the fight? Or were you too drunk to score fights?
I just thought Rose won. I don't remember probably what rounds I called it because I only probably gave Joanna 1 round. And it was like maybe the 4th or the 3rd. I can't remember.
1 round, really?
Yeah. So I scored a 49-46 to Rose. I thought that she was just landing the harder shots. I know there was a lot of leg kicks that Rose ate, but when you're there and you're drunk, you're hearing like, you know, big shots land. It's impactful on how you score a fight, you know. And it just seemed like Rose was landing all of those moments that were making people go like, ooh, ooh, you know. Sometimes you just feel a shot, you know, and you're like, that one mattered more than all the other ones.
In arena bias is what I call that. When you hear the crowd react and you're right there. And yeah, I actually scored the fight for Joanna. I had her winning 48-47. I wasn't shocked by the scorecards. I was surprised by 4-1, and I am surprised to hear that you only gave Joanna one round. I thought clearly Joanna won at least two. I guess would have been the third and the fourth, and then the fifth was sort of my turn round, or what's the thing? American? Awesome. No, like the swing states is what I was thinking of. The swing round.
The swing state. Swing round. Jesus Christ.
Hey, it makes sense. It fits.
It does. Fun.
I thought Joanna did enough. I mean, I think in that fifth round particularly, I thought she had more time as far as she was sort of pressing forward. And
no, you're right. The third round was the round that it looked like Joanna could turn it around, and you were like, oh shit, this is like legitimately a fight. Because it seemed like in the first two, Rose was cruising, right?
Yes, then, Rose definitely won the first two.
But then I thought it all just was... I don't know.
And they were all close rounds. I mean,
you definitely won the fifth round, though, right, Rose?
I scored the fifth round for Joanna, so I mean,
yeah, I thought that was clearly for Rose.
That's the one round I really should go back and watch. I probably won't, but if I was going to go back and watch 5 minutes of this fight, that'd probably be the round, because most people scored for Rose, so I scored it for Jacek, and so I'm probably wrong. I'm sure. I mean, 3-2 Rose.
Regularly.
3-2 Rose, I have no issues with, but nonetheless, I mean, great performance from Nurmagomedov and Jacek. It was cool to see it play out much different than the first fight. I wouldn't have had an issue if Nurmagomedov knocked you out in the first round again, but I enjoyed the fight. I thought it was pretty back and forth, pretty fun. Yeah, definitely some momentum shifts. Rose started out really well. Then Joanna started to, it seemed like Rose was slowing down and was a lot more on defense than in the early rounds. But ultimately, she did enough to get the job done, and it's going to be very interesting to see where she goes from here, where Joanna goes from here. I'll say what I think happens. I think you do Rose on Andrade. I think that's pretty clear. Kovacevic had a great performance on the prelims against Herrig, but I think Andrade is a step ahead of Kovacevic. If you look at the recent records, Kovacevic is coming off wins over Felice Herrig and Jody Esquivel, while Andrade is coming off wins over top 5 ranked Claudia Gadelha and Tisha Torres. And so she has the better resume right now. I think
she's super dangerous and scary, powerful, which is a great challenge for Rose.
Rose Andrade is the fight to make, and for Jacek, I want to see her at 125.
Okay, I could see that. She does look scary, kind of, when she's cutting that weight.
If Jacek doesn't move up, I wouldn't have a problem with a rematch with Double K, with Karolina Kovacevic. Fight night in Poland, something like that. I'd be down for that.
You got the promoter's eye right there. I think that's a great. That would be a great move for both.
Dana White, I know you're listening. Joe Silva, no, he doesn't work for the UFC. Sean Shelby, McMaynard.
Joe Silva's retired, doing katas in the backyard of his house.
Did you see that John Anik tweet? That's what you're referencing, right?
No, not at all. What?
During the catastrophe that was last week, John Anik put out a tweet, and Joe Silva is in his basement cage, sparring right now without a worry on his mind, and it was pretty fantastic.
Of course.
It's accurate, too. I mean, I'm sure that's exactly what Joe was doing, and he definitely wasn't concerned about Conor McGregor, Max Holloway, anybody, Khabib. Renato Moicano gets the job done against Calvin Kattar. I think this was another surprising result. I mean, I did terrible picks-wise. You'll probably disown me for this, but I actually picked Iaquinta to beat Khabib. And,
that's silly, man.
So I ended up going 3-6 picks.
Yeah, I won all 3 of my bets. I did really good. Bam.
Not bad. I went... the card went from 13 fights to 9, of course, and I went 3-6. I was up in Gamble Master, though. So
there you go.
Not going to complain.
Always good to be up in Gamble Master.
$5,000 on Zabit.
Is that what your bet was? Hilarious.
One of them. We should talk about Zabit right after this. But yeah, Kattar, I am terrible at picking Kattar's fights. First two fights, Andre Fili, Shane Burgos, sizable underdogs. I'm thinking, okay, Kattar's not on their level. Pick against him. Now that they win, or he wins, I should say, in impressive fashion, I'm thinking Kattar's legit. He's top 15 in one of the best divisions, featherweight. Moicano is really good, but
Moicano
get a job or get it done, and he didn't. So 0-3 picking Kattar's UFC fights. I'm sure a lot of people are like that. I don't know if you even remember, but Moicano is sneaky good. People don't talk about him. He doesn't speak great English. He doesn't stand out for any reason.
Yeah, he's just one of these Brazilian 145 pounders who are deadly as fuck.
But he's really good.
Remember, he beat Stevens in a split decision. He only lost to Brian Ortega.
That means nothing.
Brian Ortega, Brian
Ortega could be the best featherweight on the planet.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Renato Moicano, his grappling's great, and that's what he's known for. But his striking's getting better. Clearly, I mean, those leg kicks against Kattar were vicious. I know Kattar wasn't checking most of them, and that's something that Rogan kept talking about. And so that was interesting. But
I thought he was the Muay Thai guy.
What's that?
I thought he was a Muay Thai guy.
Kattar or Moicano?
Moicano.
He might be, but I just remember. I mean, I know his striking has been good for a while, but I think his bread and butter might be on the ground.
He is a Brazilian dude, so instantly we're just like, yeah, of course, he's a Brazilian champion.
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
Accusations left and right.
My accusations that you're Brazilian submission bias.
Yeah.
Honestly, this fight lost the crowd a little bit.
Did it? I thought it was fun. I mean, I
did too, but we have a better taste in fights than the hoi polloi, my good man.
Maybe a worse taste.
Yeah, maybe a worse.
Maybe the casual fans all this time
people get edgy and they want to see like big knockouts or just like defining moments.
Well, and especially coming off like the last 30 seconds of the last fight before it. I mean,
well, that's the problem. Yeah. Zabit.
Let's talk about the GOAT, the Russian Zabit Nurmagomedov.
You throw around the GOAT so willy-nilly.
I really do.
You know, it wouldn't be so bad would be to match these two up, Moicano and Zabit.
Right? There you go.
Makes a lot of sense to me. I don't know how much slower you roll Zabit. It's clear that he shouldn't fight the most elite, but he's kind of a dangerous dude. Boychuk like made it a fight and was a gritty and tough opponent, but it seemed like to me that he was outclassed for just like swaths and swaths of the fight.
Yeah, this was the most unsurprising result of the entire card, including Khabib's win, even though I did pick Iaquinta.
But like Zabit showed deficiency in maybe striking power. You know what I mean?
Maybe, but then he supposedly broke his left hand or right hand. So
he did. I didn't hear that.
Yeah. Okay.
That would explain a lot.
So apparently, Ariel Helwani said, or not apparently, but Ariel Helwani said after the fight that apparently Zabit broke his hand. Guess when?
Before he ever stepped in the cage, because it's
in the locker room warming up.
Of course, baby.
That's incredible. When I see that, it's like, and he's still dominated. It's crazy.
Is Zabit managed by Ali Abdelaziz?
Of course he is.
Well, then I don't believe this story.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
You're onto something. Not gonna lie. You're definitely onto something. But yeah, I mean, Zabit looked great out there. Arguably, I guess you could say this was his closest UFC fight, even though it was still one-sided for all 3 rounds. I mean, he didn't get the finish. Maybe that was due to the hand. Maybe Bochniak is just that tough. But props to Bochniak, because he did all he could do, right?
And he's the biggest underdog on the whole card. Everyone's shitting on him. And he showed that he could throw down. You know, if this was Pride, that would be fucking congratulated and respected, and they would give him like a high-profile fight with like a lesser fighter later on down the line. But this is the UFC, so homeboy's probably cut if he doesn't win his next one.
Well, the thing is, he goes out there with nothing to lose, and I'm very baffled when fighters who are such big underdogs and clearly won't lose anything if they lose to this particular opponent, and they don't go and they go out there, give the guy respect. I mean, I get it. They might be jittery or nervous, but you got to go out there swinging and basically go for broke the whole fight, or at least a lot of it. That's what I think Bochniak did. It still wasn't enough because Magomed Sharipov is so good. and we saw that in this fight. But he really tested Zabit, and I think he brought the best out of Zabit, whereas Zabit's first two opponents didn't really do that. It was just one-sided demolitions, and again, it was still kind of like that in the fight, but Bochniak brought it. He was aggressive. He looked to knock Zabit out. He was throwing with everything he had, and I really enjoyed seeing that because that's what you got to do as a massive underdog with, according to most people, no chance.
Yeah, so yeah, I did. I respect him for going out there and going for it.
And I hope they give him another fight because he went from a guy not on my radar at all. I mean, that win over Brandon Davis on the Miocic and Ngannou card, that was really
entirely forgettable.
I didn't invest anything into that, and then before that, I mean, he's never been, a standout guy.
Yeah, I can't tell you what Kyle Bochniak has done in the UFC offhand. I'd have to
lost to Jeremy Kennedy, controversially beat a tough Latin America Enrique Barzola, but otherwise really nothing. So I think he gained a lot of fans on Saturday. Will people remember him? Probably not, just because he's another. I mean, there's so many fights, but should they remember him? I think so.
Is Kyle Bochniak the dude who walks out with the Bruins jersey?
He might be, because he is a Boston guy. Trains with Rob Font, Greg Rebello, those fighters. So
see, we need more steady gimmicks.
You're thinking of Charles Rosa, I think.
I am, and I love Charles Rosa. Yeah. So there it is. Charles Rosa beat him, I think, in his debut.
He did.
That's hilarious.
Bochniak has done lost. It
was Rosa's debut as well, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
Rosa debuted against Dennis Seaver on like a week's notice. Do you remember that at all?
No, that's too deep.
Like late 2014 in Germany.
Yeah, that got deleted. That's when there were so many cards that you had to delete shit from the brand.
So as far as the beat, last thing I think from me on this card, I do actually want to say one thing after this, but as far as the beat, I mean, I think I know the guy is a real deal. This guy is very talented. He's good on the feet. He's good on the mat. He's great on the feet, great on the mat, well-rounded. And as long as he doesn't gas out with a minute left in his fights like he did in this one, I don't know what that was about. That was a little worrisome, but as long as that, doesn't happen, this guy is a force to be reckoned with. I think even against, some of the best at 145.
Yep, he's definitely a dangerous dude. I do think, though, that this fight says don't put him up against the top 10 now. Don't put him up against the elite. Let him build a couple more in that 15 to 20 range. I know there's not too many 145ers that, once you start getting into the upper. So, start slowing down now so that he can get maybe another year of fighting before he's a title contender, and a year and a half of fighting before he's a title contender, instead of, having him fight for the title in 6 goddamn months.
Usually, I am totally on board with the let's build guys up slowly. I'm not saying rush him in against, Frankie Edgar or whatever, because I don't know how, I mean, they train together, but, Cub Swanson or Lamas or anyone like that. But I do think you push him quicker than most fighters because I think he is that good. Now, could he use some seasoning? Of course, he will get better over time, training with Mark Henry and those guys. He's going to get very good, a lot better. He's going to improve a lot, and it'll all be good. But I'm okay with the Moicano fight. You mentioned it earlier. Moicano's like number 10, number 11. I'd be okay with that.
Okay, yeah, sure. But what I'm saying is that sucks then, because then he's a title contender in 9 months' time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I'm saying you have to slow down now, because if just by beating people, he's going to be in a title contender in under 2 years. Yeah.
No, I agree. It'll be interesting to see what they do with him. I mean, he's one fight left on his contract, so Abdelaziz said they're going to go to Vegas and probably
forget Zabit. I'm done talking about it because we're running out of time, and we have to talk about Glendale.
We have to talk about Olivier Aubin-Mercier real quick.
Oh my God, you're Canadian. You're so Canadian.
The only thing I want to say is that I keep doubting OAM. I picked Evan Dunham. I rarely pick OAM in his UFC fights. I
always pick OAM. He's great. He always wins.
I know, and my record for picking OAM fights must be god awful. I think he's on a 3-fight winning streak or something like that, and I've picked against him all of them. He's on a 4-fight winning streak. I picked Dunham. I picked Tony Martin. I picked Drew Dober. I didn't pick Thibault Gouti. I picked Carlos Diego Feje, which he did lose to. I mean, I picked David Michaud against him way back in 2015.
No one cares for you to keep listing all the people that he fought that you got incorrect. You have thought this Canadian kid sucks because you're a traitor for your own country.
I am on the OAM train. I am on board the OAM train. I think he is very talented, and I think this guy
can go somewhere. Oh, you fell into the trap already.
Not the next GSP. I'm not going there. But I do think he might be able to make some waves as far as Canadian talent goes. He could be a ranked lightweight come tomorrow. I mean, Evan Dunham was 13, so he might take that spot right around there anyways. Boot Dunham
into that 15
top 15.
Probably.
Probably.
You know what?
This guy, I was
always a little young, so it's good that he like kind of chilled for a little while and played the slow role, and he was beating most of these kids up, and he was taking them down and not taking a lot of damage. So you could see maybe if he's a fighter who matures in like his 30s, what is he, like 29, 32?
He's 29, and this is this, I mean, he's in his physical prime, and we have seen that adjustment. We've seen him get better.
For as a hobby, he's got the GSP body type. They got him on the GSP juice. It's looking good. The physique's nice. The Quebec kid, they're selling it to the French-Canadian market.
No, the Canadian gangster.
Oh, is that his new nickname?
No, but it has to be. I mean, he was calling himself that. That's fantastic. He has a little mustache. He wears the fanny pack. This guy has some potential. I can't believe I'm saying this because you asked me even before this fight. I'm thinking, all right, yeah, he's a cool Instagram follow. That's about it. But I think I was laughing because in the commercial before his fight, TSN called OAM Canada's best hope at lightweight. I'm thinking, well, that's not a very good hope. But I'm on board. I think he could be Canada's biggest UFC star, which doesn't say a whole lot because no one in the UFC is from Canada right now. But I think he could make some waves up here in the true north.
I just tried to Google Olivier Aubin-Mercier, and I'm failing miserably. I'm misspelling it so badly they won't even like autocorrect it for me.
That's okay.
They're like, "Good sir, your French is offensive."
UFC on Fox 29, UFC Glendale, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Carlos Condit, Alex Oliveira, Israel Adesanya, Marvin Vettori, Michelle Watterson, Courtney Casey. We have 4 fights on Big Fox. We have 4 Fox prelims, and we have 6 UFC Fight Pass early prelims. A grand total of 14 fights. We will have probably about 7 come fight night. I'm looking forward to this card a lot. It's on Saturday. It's going to be early because it's on Big Fox. I like that. Starts at 3:30 p.m. Eastern in the afternoon. That's fantastic.
Love that.
I'm looking forward to this card.
Dude, there's so much to like spread out in the preliminary cards that it makes it a perfect, just like fun fights. It'll end early, so you could go out for a late dinner. You could maybe see your friends at a bar afterwards. It's what MMA should be. And also, like, the main product, the heart of the product, if you just wanted to watch, like, the card, like, to tell casuals to watch it, telling them, hey, man, on Fox, there's 4 fights. These are good 4 fights for people to watch.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I don't... What did you say about the Poirier-Gaethje fight? But I think the thing with Poirier-Gaethje, were you saying something like if you're trying to introduce people to the sport, make them watch this card?
It's a great way to be like, hey, watch these 4 fights. You get the Michelle Watterson against Courtney Casey fight. You get, probably Izzy Adesanya does something really dope. And that's what we're banking on. Not slighting Marvin Vettori, but like you're there to kind of be styled upon, my good man. Carlos Condit against, of course, the immortal Matt Brown would have been unreal. But I think as a late notice replacement, people kind of know who the Brazilian cowboy is, right? And he's got a wild-ass story, and he's got like 4 kids with 3 women who all live on the same block in one town. And then Dustin Poirier against Justin Gaethje. Good Lord, that is a gift. That is a gift from the heavens thrown on a free card on Fox. So, like, if you wanted to turn people on to fighting and show them, like, what is the UFC product nowadays, these 4 fights are perfect. And it's a perfect size portion, I think, for normal people to watch MMA. And then for the hardcores, we have just a bunch of cool stuff spread out here. I mean, goddamn it, Tim Boetsch is fighting. We got Yushin Okami fighting. There's a lot of like names in stories that even if you might not be so excited to see what their next chapter is, you absolutely know a lot of these people, and they've been involved in fights you cared about at some point.
And you know that they're going to do a post-lim between Tim Bosch and Yushin Okami, too, the rematch.
Tim Bosch
card ends early for that reason only. They're secret post-lim.
That's fantastic.
Let's talk about the main card. I mean, the prelims, as you said, are good, but we don't have tons of time. I think 4 fights, breaking them down a little bit, I think that's all we should do. If you disagree, then we can talk.
We'll shout out some other fights.
Sure.
But let's talk Dustin Poirier against Justin Gaethje, because God damn it, that's the greatest thing.
Well, do we want to start from like the bottom, the first fight, Waterson Casey, or
however you'd like to do it, Nicholas?
Waterson Casey, Michelle Waterson, Courtney Casey, strawweight. Who you liking?
I guess I like Michelle Waterson. I've always had like problems fundamentally with Courtney Casey's game, in my opinion, on her ability to like go after a fight and like really get down and dirty with it. Michelle Waterson is like a fighter through and through. I think she'll probably get it done with grappling, maybe like a rear naked choke. But I don't think she'll be lost in the striking at all. I think there's an experience differential here. There's a huge experience gap.
I'm thinking Courtney Casey might pull off the well, actually, Michelle Waterson opened at +100, so I can't say slight upset, but a Casey win feels like an underdog pick upset to me anyways.
Yeah, I definitely think so.
The lines might switch, although I'm sure some people have sort of lost faith in Waterson just because she lost a couple in a row. This is a really tough fight because Courtney Casey should be a lot bigger and stronger. I mean, she has a 5-inch reach advantage, 4 inches of height, but Waterson's a better striker. She definitely could have point her on the feet, but if Casey gets her down, she might just be able to grind her out. So I'm going to go cast iron. Not confident in that. I think Waterson might be able to get back on track, but we might just. I mean, Waterson has lost a number of fights because she's the smaller fighter in there most times, because she is coming up from 105 at Invicta a few years back. But this isn't a great matchup for her just because Casey is so strong for the division. And so I'm going to favor Casey, but not by too much.
Courtney Casey has lost fights to Sohee Ham and Joanne Calderwood. She will lose a fight to a smaller fighter. She doesn't use her size particularly well. I think you'll see.
Those were a while ago. I don't think that's totally fair. I think she's gotten a lot better in the past 2 years or so.
Maybe so. But that's a lot. I know that Michelle's lost some fights,
only
Rose
to top competition.
Yeah, exactly. Rose and then Taurus. So that's kind of tough. So yeah, I think that she can get this one done.
Israel Adesanya, Marvin Vettori, middleweight prospects. One, of course, a lot more hype than the other, but I think Marvin Vettori, I'm not going to pick him, but I think there is a good chance he plays spoiler on Saturday. I don't think this was the best booking by the UFC's part. I think the fact is Vettori is a decent grappler. That is that's the blueprint to beat a guy like Israel Adesanya, who's undefeated, 12-0, very hyped up, super flashy striker. Go watch his highlights. Go watch his UFC debut back in February. If you haven't seen any of that, if you haven't, I mean, shame on you. If you haven't, I'll give you a pass and go watch it and then get back to me. Adesanya is really good, but Vettori is good too, and he might be able to style on Adesanya. Ultimately, I think the pick has to be Israel. He's the favorite for a good reason, but I wrote an article right after his debut back in Perth UFC 221. That was the Romero Rockhold card. They should have given him strikers that weren't nearly as good for him to style on and knock out and build up that highlight reel. And then in a year from now, then start pushing him, give him, steps up. But for now, just give him not bums, not cans, but, fighters that are not nearly on his level. I think Vettori might not be quite on his level. Adesanya is really good, but he's close.
No, I think that this is fine. Marvin Vettori is a level of striker, but not a level of striker that you're like, oh my God, he's amazing. Like Israel Adesanya was nearly a kickboxing champion, so he should be able to perform some highlight shit here. And I think that's what the UFC's banking on. And of course, that's my pick.
I'm actually going to go decision. I think
you're going to feel foolish.
Pull off a knockout here.
You're going to feel foolish when the highlight reel lands.
Probably.
I'm going to smash that on your Courtney Casey pick and on your Adesanya by decision pick. I'm going to laugh.
I'll do a parlay on that. Oh, wait, I'm not 18, but yeah.
Yep.
Co-main event, welterweights, Carlos Condit, Alex Oliveira. It's going to be a fun fight. It's, Alex Oliveira, as you said earlier, a great replacement for Matt Brown, but man, it's still kind of bittersweet. I really wish Carlos Condit, Matt Brown was finally happening. Brown's going to be out for a year. He just had surgery yesterday or today, I believe yesterday. And even then, I mean, will Condit be around in a year? Who knows? He has a coffee shop. He has other stuff. I mean, how much does Condit want it? I think that has to be taken into account. Is he done? Maybe. Alex Oliveira can bang. He can grapple. I think Oliveira has more ways to win.
Yeah. It's hard.
I was surprised that Oliveira opened at 2-1 at -200. I thought it'd be a lot closer than that.
Oh no, I don't know. Alex Oliveira is kind of a beast. I know he lost that fight to Yancy Medeiros, but he was putting it on Yancy bad.
And that was the best fight last year.
Yeah. So, and he was in that weird fight, those two fights with Tim Means, where there was that he lost kind of by illegal knees, but then he beat up Tim Means back in, and I still remember him beating up Will Brooks and kind of like beginning of the end of that. He missed weight terribly and still fucked him up at 155 pounds. Alex Oliveira is a really nasty kickboxer, and I always think the Brazilian Cowboy never gets credit for like being a really talented dude. Because he is kind of, lost in the shadows of, just being another Brazilian guy. But he hardly ever loses, and the people he loses to are like really, really good guys. And those people usually grapple fuck him too sometimes. So I don't know. I think Carlos Condit is like pushing the envelope with this, man. I don't like you coming back and just being like, I'm going to fight Brazilian cat. I don't know. I wish people could go out with more dignity and grace in MMA, but this is what it is, right? Neil Magny beat up Carlos Condit, and now I got to watch Alex Oliveira do it too.
So Oliveira by decision, is that what you're going on? That's what I'm going.
I'm going to say even might have finished him.
On the ground, like ground and pound or submission? Or
no, I might like head kick him or something.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, main event time. Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje. This is one for the books. I hope so anyways. I probably just jinxed it, I'm sure. Courtney Casey Watterson will end up being the headliner of this card. But in all seriousness, Poirier Gaethje, pray to God that this happens because this is a great fight. Lightweight, I mean, it won't, fix all these problems we have at lightweight, but hey, one contender will emerge out of the massive group of contenders, so to speak.
No, Poirier makes a great case for himself by winning this fight, actually. You kind of forget that I know that
still has a name. Justin Gaethje is a monster. Yeah,
you get rid of the weirdness that happened with the Eddie Alvarez fight, and the dude's on kind of a tear. The loss to Michael Johnson, that looks it's not that bad. There's a lot of things at 155 pounds to get a title shot, but it's just about staying relevant for a little while, and then you're in the mix. You're in the kind of roulette wheel of who's going to get a title fight because all these injuries happening and weird shit going down. So, but this fight means a lot for both guys' career. Justin
also,
Gaethje, the first loss of his career
next week means a lot as well. So
it does, yeah. All these things, people are going to have to win a few fights, of course. All these people will. But Justin Gaethje coming back from his first loss ever, and what a loss it was! Like a brutal fight. So you wonder how he comes back, how he responds from that. This is the first time he faced defeat. Does his fighting style change? These things happen to fighters. So there's a lot of question marks around what'll go down. But if both people bring the fight that they typically bring, this will be electric, nearly guaranteed.
Nearly guaranteed. I agree. Did you give a pick? I don't think so. Did you?
No, absolutely. I didn't give a pick. I'm going to say that Justin Gaethje gets it done.
Basically just overwhelms him like he does most of his opponents, other than Eddie Alvarez.
Hearts it out because I think that Diamond Poirier is more technical and probably a better fighter. But there's, I think he just digs deep and gets it done.
I think Gaethje could also chop him down with leg kicks. That's something he uses in a lot of his fights, in all of his fights. Ultimately, though, I'm going to go the Diamond. I like Dustin Poirier in this fight. I think he just has the sharper striking. I think this looks kind of like the Eddie Alvarez fight, with a bit more flash. Gaethje Alvarez was a very fun fight. I probably went into that one with way too high of expectations, and I thought that was like going to be the greatest thing to, since sliced bread or whatever the saying is. But I mean, it was fun. It wasn't the best fight of the year, though.
No.
And so I think it could look like that. I'm being a hypocrite because I think it'll be better than that fight. Yet I'm saying I probably shouldn't have gone in with such high expectations. I think this fight can be so good, and I don't know why I keep saying that, but nonetheless, I think Poirier will just be able to outstrike Gaethje. I mean, I think he'll be able to outpace him, outwork him, deal with the pressure. Poirier has never been known as a guy to, sort of collapse under the pressure. I mean, he's been knocked out before, but someone like Edson Barboza has never done well under pressure. That's a fighter that I think Gaethje fight wouldn't go so well for him. But Dustin Poirier, his movement is really good. He strikes from angles and gets out of the way. I think he'll be able to avoid enough of what Gaethje throws at him, which will be a lot of volume. I mean, Gaethje is just so talented, though. I mean, it's not that he's like the most precise striker or the best fighter in the lightweight division, but he's just so goddamn tough, and he outworks most of his opponents. But I kind of see it going the other way a little bit. I think Poirier is going to outstrike him over the course of 25 minutes, but I have a tough time seeing this go 25 minutes because Gaethje does get tired, and so could this be another late round knockout for Gaethje? It wouldn't shock me. I mean, he has a great chin, but now he's been knocked out. That's one thing that people aren't talking about. I'm very interested to see how Gaethje rebounds from his first pro career loss and first knockout loss. Will his chin be gone? I don't think so, but would I be shocked? Just considering he did get knocked out with a big knee from Alvarez last December. And keep in mind, this is probably a quicker turnaround than Gaethje needs. I think you're sort of probably on board with that idea as well.
Yeah.
Should he have sat out for 8 months or more? Probably, but
for sure.
It's Justin Gaethje. He was never going to do that.
No.
He wants money. He loves fighting, and he's not a human, really. But ultimately, I'm going to go Poirier. I think he'll do better work on the feet, basically. Does Gaethje have more tools on the feet? The kicks, mostly, is what I'm getting at, probably. But Poirier, his punching, his boxing is really good. And so I like Poirier to... I still can't... I don't know if I have it in me to pick a decision just because Gaethje does gas out a little bit. I'll go for a decision.
Punishment, too.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know what? No, I'll go late 4th round TKO from Dustin Poirier.
I'll go the opposite. End the 4th round TKO. Boom.
For Justin Gaethje.
Yeah. 4 other good things happened on the prelims. The Barbarian Tim Boetsch is fighting Shoeface. A great matchup of nicknames. Wilson Hayes is fighting John Moraga in a battle between like ranked people in its traditional spot in the flyweight division. Lost in the prelims. Jotko is fighting Brad Tavares. I think those are ranked fighters. And Jotko at some point was the hype train. Oh yeah, Yushin Akami's fighting Diego Lima. Like, that's an interesting fight in people that you know. And of course, the heavyweight chic sensation Arjun Buller is fighting.
Did you mention Wilson Hayes, John Moraga?
Yes, I did.
One fight you didn't mention that I think could be a lot of fun is Muslim Salikov versus newcomer Ricky Rainey.
Oh yeah, sure. What's going on there?
Could be a striking battle. Salikov hits really hard. He lost to Alex Garcia in an upset in his debut last November. Ricky Rainey coming in on short notice. He fought for Bellator for a little bit. I remember him from losing to Michael Venom Page, I believe.
Okay. Wow.
But this could be fun.
All right. Yep, that's instilling confidence. But no, okay. So maybe, hopefully, yeah, throw down, do some wild shit, guys, and we'll all remember about it.
So that's UFC Glendale for you guys. I think that is pretty much it. So we disagreed on 2 of our picks. We're both going Alex Oliveira and Adesanya, although we disagreed on both how they will get it done. And we disagreed on the main event and the first fight on the Fox main card. So there you go. That is the show other than our segments. Cannot forget them. Let's move on to Gets It Doesn't Get It. Little curveball there here on
There you go. All right, I'll run it down. If you've never watched the show, Gets It Doesn't Get It is where we name a couple people that popped up in the news this week in MMA, and we ask, did they get it this week or did they not get it? Nicholas, the first person, Gets It Doesn't Get It. Our very own on Twitter at Talk MMA, one Diz popped up earlier today, taking some shots at the one and only Bloody Elbows one and only Crooklyn. Does Mr. Diz get it or does he not get it?
I didn't see what Diz did because I don't follow him on Twitter because he keeps blocking and then unblocking me, so I can't follow him. What happened? I need a very, very thorough explanation.
So I think that Crooklyn was doing a play-by-play, poking some fun at Ali Abdelaziz and his appearance on the MMA Hour, and some fan took exception of it and tagged Diz into the conversation, and
of course they did.
Of course they did. And he took it upon himself to say that essentially, like, Crooklyn was a wannabe terrible journalist without ethics, and was one of the most two-faced people he had ever met inside the industry.
Well, you don't get it,
which is
which been all good to me.
And more importantly, if anyone's making any kind of accusations on someone's ethics in MMA journalism,
you will talk MMA.
Talk MMA. You're kind of speaking out of your depth there a little bit, brother. So I think you're throwing rocks inside of a glass house, good man.
Yep.
Our next doesn't get it this week. Iaquinta for taking the fight, UFC main event. What do you think, Nick? This is an easy one for me, but
most times I would say doesn't get it just because damage, you don't need to take it. I mean, will the money be as... I mean, okay, so when Des Green took the fight against Prazeres when he blew weight, that was an easy doesn't get it because you're not making any more money, bigger chance you lose. This was a different scenario. I think Iaquinta gets it because he moved from the opener of the pay-per-view card to the main event against the best lightweight on the planet, and that's good exposure. I mean, losing to Khabib means nothing for his career. He lost nothing. And ultimately, he didn't know this going in, but he didn't end up getting pounded on for 25 minutes straight like a lot of Khabib opponents, or I guess Khabib hasn't gone 25 minutes all that often and hadn't in the UFC. But you get the point. I mean, he ended up sort of standing, he ended up standing with Iaquinta for a lot of the fight. And so Iaquinta, it's not like he lost gazillions of brain cells or anything like that. And so he really lost very little in this fight. He made a lot more money, I'm sure. I hope.
I bet you he probably cleared like $200,000 or something from this.
Or more. I mean,
more maybe.
Yeah, and so he would have made like what, 70 grand, 80 grand for the Felder fight, something like that. I know I talked to Iaquinta in February about his newer contract with the UFC. That was really good. But so he's gonna make a lot of money to lose to Khabib. This does good things for his career because people will know him more, and he looked good against Khabib maybe, and so I think Iaquinta gets it.
Yeah, definitely, because he didn't take such a beating. I'll put it in the gets it category. If he had taken a hellacious beating for 200 grand, I probably would have hated it more. But he looked like he took an ass whooping, but he seemed pretty with it, and like it didn't faze him too much. So definitely Long Island's own Iaquinta gets it. Ariel Helwani, a constant gets it doesn't get it character. He pops up for having Ali Abdelaziz featured prominently on mic, in studio, in person, on the MMA Hour. What did you think about your boy Ariel doing this?
At this point, I think enough people dislike Abdelaziz that he's the guy people want to tune in for. It's the whole idea that, a fighter doesn't need to be friendly or heels will sell. And so I think Ali Abdelaziz is basically the heel of MMA managers, but he also happens to be one of the most popular, if not the most, for most of the wrong reasons, all of them really. But so I guess Ariel gets it. I mean, he is the manager to Khabib, who just won the lightweight title, who was directly involved with the McGregor stuff. I mean, the Lobov confrontation, all of that. Ariel gets it.
I have to say though that, well, in a way, of course, Ariel does get it because he's, you know, he's massaging a relationship with Ali Abdelaziz that clearly he utilizes to, you know, to be an MMA journalist, right? So there's that, but there's also a level of tone deafness by constantly having this guy, you know, in and being part of your show, because it's beyond the courtesy that you'd extend to an MMA manager. And now you're kind of hyping him up and giving him this fame and this shine that clearly, you know, the platform of his show does get, to the point where like casual fans who really only interact with the product maybe by, you know, watching it and, you know, listening to Ariel's show, you know, they view him as kind of a quasi celebrity. So, I don't know.
I agree. I think giving too
and
much...
I don't mind doing that for a person in making a character that is like relevant, but like we know that this dude is very shady. He has a very you know, he has conflicts of interest across the sport. There's better people that we can
not just in the sport
to give the shine to. Yeah, yeah. We could go into the myriad of you know, transgressions,
yes.
Abdelaziz, but we don't have that much time, and the show must end soon. So
I do agree with you.
Doesn't get it.
I do agree with your point on the whole giving him too much shine. I mean, Ariel is supposed to have a professional relationship with MMA managers, Abdelaziz included, and sometimes fans might look at Ali being on every, you know, third show or so, and they might look at that and think, hey, it's a lot more than that. I mean, they basically are friends at this point in time. And I mean, there's one manager particularly I have a pretty good professional relationship with. I talk to him quite a fair bit, and I interview a lot of his fighters. I once in a blue moon, I will, like, whatever the case is, I think I've written like 2 or 3 articles, and relevant, of course, his name would be in it. I think one was Ben Wen talking about signing with the new management group and what that'll do for his career. And that almost like, just seems like PR sometimes. I think if you go too far, and you don't want to do that as a journalist. And so I think you have to be careful. But at the end of the day, I think Abdelaziz does attract the eyeballs, and that's what we're all after. So I can't fault Ariel for having Ali on as much as he does. He brings controversy to the show, and that's what's going to sell to the masses.
Sure.
So with that, let's move on to dumb questions.
Oh, dumb questions.
We have one dumb question. It is from Tim Bissell over at bloodyelbow.com. He says, given the main event this weekend, what is the worst fighter name to try and spell when you have to write about them? The main event this weekend is, he can't be talking about Poirier Gaethje. I assume he's
probably talking about getting Jacek against
Nurmagomedov. Okay, so there actually, let me go back to the fight card, because there was a lot of long names. Nurmagomedov.
And remember, the UFC misspelled Iaquinta.
When was that? I remember that happening.
It was in like the press conference. There was just like, I think it was Iaquinta.
Oh, that's why he didn't have the sign. I remember.
He didn't have the sign because they double printed Anthony Pettis' signs, and then in a later press conference they had it misspelled Iaquinta.
Really? Okay. Well,
I saw a couple of sites post with you know, instead of Iaquinta with an L instead of an I.
So we had Nurmagomedov, Namajunas, Jacek. We had Magomed Sharipov, Groupmacher, Kovalkiewicz, Oben Mercier, Evan Smith. That's a mouthful for a 9-fight card. And so Tim Bissell's question: what is the worst
pound
fighter
for pound worst name? Because you can misspell all kinds of shit. You know, you miss an I in Mercier. You know,
I used to think it was Oliver Oben Mercier for the longest time.
Well, yeah, right. There's so many I's in that name. Yeah.
As far as the toughest one to spell when you first see it, because like the thing is, I've been writing about someone like Eugenio Jacek for enough where I can spell Jacek. I've been able to for a long time. I can spell Nurmagomedov. I don't find a name like that.
I can't even say it right now, but Nurmagomedov isn't that bad.
No,
Jacek's been around enough that you kind of figure out like a trick to do it. To me, I always think like Jed, Rez, you know, Jizdurk, you know, and I can see each part of it, each syllable. But you know what throws me off is Magomed Sharipov, because there's just like, it seems like there's 2 different names jammed together.
And so that's why I find it easy, because I just treat it as 2 names.
Ah, I get you. So you just like Magomed and then Sharapov.
Exactly.
Easy.
The one I find out of this entire card, the toughest, just because I don't really write about him because he's lower level, is actually Grootmacher.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I couldn't even pronounce it properly. What
is if you were from, a new, if you were
tough seasons?
Yeah, he was on the McGregor-Faber season.
Oh, of course, that's how I know him. Ha ha ha. Of course.
He got knocked out by Artem Lobov, like a lot of some people. If I was just not an MMA fan, didn't know anybody on this card, the toughest one is easily Jędrzejczyk.
Yeah, definitely Jędrzejczyk. And if you want to like nail it 100% too, you got to get the squiggly under the E. I don't even know how to make that symbol.
Yeah. All of the little symbols on the keyboard, even the degree symbol. I just Google degree symbol and copy it.
Usually they'll tell you like what the shortcut is.
I've never been able to figure that out, but shout out to Nick Diaz. He got suspended by USADA, but that suspension ends in like 9 days.
Now on the day before 420, irony of irony. How long until we see Nick Diaz fight, you think?
I think a better question is, does he fight again?
Oh, it's MMA. He's going to fight again at some point.
I guess, maybe.
All right. Last thing before we go. Are you into karate combat?
Karate combat? What is that?
Yeah.
Oh, I do know what you're talking about.
The dude's fighting a pit, and there's just no grounds, or like takedowns are only like 5 seconds, you basically get.
Yes, I do. I remember I got like a press release for that a few days ago.
Oh, dope.
I'm down for that. Sure.
Yeah, I'm pumped for it. I think
it's also awesome. The first American since like the 1800s, apparently, the first sanctioned bare knuckle boxing card is happening in the States. The first one in the States in June.
Happened in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Yep. Exactly.
Once it thaws out in June, they're going to throw some bare knuckle boxing. And they're unlike the bare knuckle boxing happening in England, no hand wraps, bare knuckles, completely bare knuckles.
And so it's Rico Rodriguez versus Alex Nicholson, right?
Yeah, well, that's word on the street.
Well, I know that. I got a press release for that.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Yeah, Sean Wheelock will be commentating. He's a great
happening. I hope that Rico Rodriguez knocks him the fuck out.
Do you think I should interview the president of the organization?
100%. Yep.
Okay, I will do that.
Let me know what's going on with that.
Will do. Anyways, episode 158 of the MMA Circus.
Hey, it's not that far from you. Go.
To Washington? That's pretty far.
Wyoming.
Oh, Wyoming. That's still pretty far.
Cheyenne, Wyoming. It can't be that far.
Pretty far.
I'll Google it while you tell the people goodbye.
Episode 158 of the MMA Circus in the books. Thank you all for watching. As always, we certainly really, really appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, either live or the replay, go give us a thumbs up down there. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel down there. And any feedback, please drop a message in the comment section down below. And if need be, I will respond to you in timely fashion. If you are listening in other places, you can find us on bloodyelbow.com, iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, SoundCloud, Google Play, Overcast, TuneIn, Player FM, Podcast Addict, and pretty much anywhere else you can find a podcast. So go subscribe to us on those places, rate us, review, subscribe, everything you can do. And check out bloodyelbow.com. That's where you can find all of my writing. And as far as what I got going on, check out me and follow me on Twitter, of course, at Nick Baldwin MMA. Would really appreciate that. And as far as what I have coming up, recently dropped today, actually, an interview with Stephen One Boy Thompson. That's on this channel. Go click the MMA Circus down there and you'll find it. Also dropped an interview with Marvin Vettori, who faces Israel Adesanya this weekend. Articles-wise, I should have some interviews up throughout this week, perhaps one with Adesanya as well. Andrew, I think that is it from me. Let the people know where they can find you and all of your MMA coverage.
First and foremost, it's a 15-hour drive from Winnipeg to Cheyenne, Wyoming. I think that's doable.
I don't.
With like a stayover somewhere in North Dakota, you'll have a great time. You can always find me at middleeasy.com and hit me up on Twitter at @theclownkid. Peace.
If you flew down to North Dakota and we met there and we just went together, I'd consider it, but
you'd have to cross the border, pick me up somewhere in North Dakota.
Yeah.
Where's a place in North Dakota? I can't even name a city of North Dakota.
Fargo and Grand Forks. Oh, Winnipeg people go there all the time. because Grand Forks is 2.5 hours away. Fargo's like 4, and so we go down there and shop. But I don't shop because I hate shopping.
Amazing. Why would you shop? Because like American stuff's better, huh?
Apparently, some things you can find down there you can't get up here. Prices are better, and you just want to get away. It's Winnipeg. I mean, why wouldn't you leave Winnipeg for?
You have to meet me in Devil's Lake, North Dakota.
I feel like this isn't going to happen, but we can pretend it is. We can pretend we're going to
here's the deal.
Each other in like 2 months.
We need if bare knuckle boxing really wants to ensure our complete coverage of it, they need to fund a road trip for us. I need a flight to Devil's Lake to be picked up by Nicholas. You're driving the whole way. I'm getting drunk in the passenger seat. Let's do it.
I thought journalists weren't supposed to get funded by promotions.
Oh, yeah. Journalistic integrity now, huh?
Well, I mean, you can make an excuse in Middle East, I guess.
Exactly. I'm full of journalistic integrity.
All right. Well, that is it. Thank you all for watching. We really appreciate it. For Andrew the Clown Kid Lawrence, my name's Nick Baldwin, and we're out.
What up, Sherry?